We all like to hear stories. So here's another Ed-time story, an Ed-time story of the realms. The Dread Wand of Alakazoom. This is what happens when things go very, very wrong, and you're listening to the right or wrong guy in the tavern. The Dread Wand of Alakazoom. I've been asked to speak of magic and my experiences with it in ways that might possibly be relevant to all of you here on this earth or dirt or whatever you call it. So let me begin by saying magic is all around you. Yes, everywhere. You just can't see it or feel it, which might just possibly keep you sane or leave you in your current lack of sanity, as the case may be. So let us, as an introductory example, consider the sign out by the road with its changeable letters that can be used to alert passing drivers of attractions like this one. Now, let me change your dreary view of the world by revealing that certain of those letters are transformed items that once enjoyed very different forms. One of them, that you passed by not so long ago, was once a wand. Yes, a wizard's wand, and not one of those toy Harry Potter things. This was a real one, a featureless, smooth, tapering stick of wood about as long as my forearm and about as impressive. Unless you saw it in action and were truly impressed. I did. And let me tell you more. It was in the year 1914 of your reckoning, and more specifically the cold and rainy November of that year, when mud was everywhere and trenches in opposing lines covered much of Flanders. I won't get into the whys of that particular dunderheaded conflict, as both sides were commanded by equally daft high-nosed twits, but let me just say that the British High Command were throwing around phrases like a right good thrashing, and could we not adopt the war elephant tactics of the Third Antiochus against the Romans at the Battle of Magnesia, and similar nonsense. And the proper response to that last question, by the way, is no! Remember Thermopylae? It took Thessaly decades to recover. So, these tactical geniuses were truly taken aback when word reached them that Hindenburg, magnificent mustache by the way, even if he did later give us Hitler, had convinced a certain demon-tamer to travel from his beloved Bosporus to the front and summon demons as a sort of shock cavalry. Oh, the horses were shocked all right. The first appearance of the demons cost their supreme army command every last horse, still capable of dragging itself through the mud in the general direction of away. Which just meant that the poor army would be going nowhere, at least not with their wagons or their guns. However, the demons, short though their visits to Earth were, arrived hungry and long-fanged with talons that could slice flesh like medium-rare beef. And they were dicing up gun crews and medics like they were in a right hurry to share the tea that the British officers were enjoying every 3 hours or so while their underlings struggled in the mud. So, the word went out for anyone who knew how to exorcise the demons, which was a bit of a trick, considering that album wouldn't be recorded or released for a good half-century into the future. Timing is everything. Ask my wife. Ask any wife. As it happens, I was here on your earth to admonish a certain wife who was rather more of a dragon than her neighbors thought her to be, and had been devouring and despoiling her way through a lot of Hamilton that thankfully wasn't much missed. When I heard demons, I knew I had to step in before someone did something really daft. We wizards are experts on daft, by the way, should you ever tire of hapless politicians. So I took myself post-haste off to dear old England and made my way through the relentless rain, guided by harumphings and the sound of mustache waxings and utterances of the phrase "thrice damned Huns," to a certain room where many decanters had been emptied, but not before many monocles had drowned in their depths. And the brightest flowers of Sandhurst were bemoaning the fact that the great warlock hunt of 1833 had been so successful that there was no one left to deal with his new demon-tamer. I wasn't much interested at first, but when I learned that the demon-tamer was calling himself Alakazoom, I had to act. I mean, really. There are standards to maintain, lest every last Tom, Scaly, and Harry lose all awe and respect for we hurlers of magic. So I turned visible and volunteered, taking as my sole inducement an excellent glass of sherry. The Boffins were more than a little astonished, of course, but after I'd introduced them to the regimental ghosts lounging all over the room unseen, they went from disbelieving resentment to sullen acceptance faster than a politician confronted by an honest budget. Didn't even have to discharge their sidearms, which I dare say was a good thing for the bosses in the room across the road. So, off I toddled to the front, and soon found the river of blood and severed noses. Demons don't like to eat human noses, did you know? Well, you do now. That guided me unerringly to my quarry. A marble quarry, as it happens, where Alakazoom the Terrible, now there's honesty in marketing for you, was bathing in the rainfall pond you'll find at the bottom of all such quarries, where he was downing some truly disgusting brandy as he was being tenderly washed by some far less than disgusting local girls. He'd rigged up some magical wards with the aid of some hookahs he'd liberated from some themed brothel somewhere, but I made short work of those and commenced my sortie.
Sorry to interrupt, but I am Ivan, and this is obviously the man himself, Sir Ed Greenwood.
Hello.
And we just wanted to pop in quickly and say that we absolutely love being able to make these videos and write more Realms lore for you. We do, however, rely on the support and the generosity of the Realms community at large, as well as Ed's fans, to make these videos happen. So if you would consider becoming a protector of the Realms by heading on over to patreon.com/EdGreenwood, not only does that support Ed directly, but it also allows us to continue bringing you the best content possible on this platform. But hey, maybe Patreon's not your thing, and that's perfectly okay. If you want to support Ed another way, he does have the Ed Greenwood line of official adventuring gear. And you can always get a sweet mug, a sweet shirt, a hoodie, and that also goes directly into the coffers to help keep this going. So for now, I'll let you get back to the video, and we hope you enjoy it.
Thank you. Which was when it started to rain pirates. He had backup defenses, you see, yet so did I, and instead of swooping down on me with cutlasses flashing, as he'd intended them to do, they plummeted helplessly and went splat all over the scenery. Still, blood marble fetches high prices. It all went splendidly. Oh, there was the small matter of him turning the local talent into Lamia to attack me with their spells, and unleashing a young dragon to breathe acid all over me, and transforming the pool he was bathing in. It ended up as a giant water bath. Yet, I am a wizard. So, I used my wand on billiard cue mode and sent all the Lamia caroming off the quarry walls into the dragon acid and battering the dragon silly, so it fell right through the water vat and I could turn everything into custard. Alakazoom couldn't even stand up in the stuff and contented himself with spewing out some truly disgusting curses and writhing helplessly in your classic eldritch manner as I turned the custard into concrete all around him and so trapped him with only head and hands free. That's my besetting sin. I am merciful. He managed to get his own wand out, you see, and unleashed it on me. Of course, I'd warded myself before setting foot within his vicinity. I'm no amateur. So, the fate he intended for me was diverted onto one of the few surviving Lamia. Poor girl never stood a chance. His magic turned her skin inside out. The screams were horrid, not to mention the smell. He managed to do the same to a second Lamia before I turned my wand into an invisible flying blade and sliced the wand out of his hands, along with a few fingers. Alakazoom wasn't done, though. Screaming like a lovelorn pregnant with tentacled spawn banshee, he shook the blood from the stumps of his fingers onto the corpses of the Lamia. The two inside-out bodies jerked and came to life, but lacked the motor control to attack me as he intended. They ripped the young dragon apart with superhuman strength, its blood catching fire and sizzling the last of the water bat. Here I took them down with my trusty, invisible flying blade. Now it was just me and Alakazoom, and he was all out of tricks. Nah, no more demon summoning for him. I fed him his dread wand right down his gullet, so he choked and gargled on it and couldn't manage any words of summoning as I enlarged his wand and split him apart from within like a sausage, splitting its casing in a too-hot fire. He spattered himself all over the quarry, so I had to scorch its walls to make certain. All that marble ruined. Dreadful. Overcome with remorse at my sin against the local post-war economy, I transformed the dread wand of Alakazoom into a shiny plastic letter, which I then had to hide in my undergarments because shiny plastic letters hadn't been invented yet. Spurned laws of causality and all that. So I duly reported back to the Boffins, but discovered that not only had they emptied all the decanters and set back the war effort by ordering replacements from the colonies, including this one, but that they didn't believe a word of my report. So I turned them all into eels and departed. A better fate than those poor girls enjoyed, I must say. Have you ever eaten eel? Covered with poisonous slime, typical of your officer class. And that's why you should leave all those shiny plastic letters on the sand down by the road strictly alone. And smile politely at our librarians. They handle those letters and those signs all the time. So there, be wiser. I know I'm not.